Hi, this is Kathy. Welcome to So Original, and this is a how-to day. It's Tuesday, September 16th, and this is one of our first videos highlighting a technique that you've been asking us about. Eventually, everybody makes a quilt with flying geese in it. You know, blocks that look like this in all different sizes. And making flying geese is an acquired skill. So we thought, why not show some different videos and some of the tools that you might find helpful. So today's video is about making them 4 at a time. And the tool that we're using is the Creative Grids Ultimate Flying Geese tool. Now, what I like about this tool is that it's got a QR code on here so that if you forget how to do this, you can simply use the QR code to view a video. In addition, a lot of the math is done for you here up in this corner. And then they've custom colored the various lines for the sizes that correspond over here. Now, of course, your block may not conform to this exactly, but once you practice and show patience in learning the technique, I'm sure you will be able to get wonderful flying geese. Maybe not 100% of the time, but for the most part, good flying geese. So let's talk about the 4 at a time method. The reason that this method helps a lot of people is that the bias edges of these triangles you're putting together are never exposed, so you're not as apt to stretch them or cause yourself a problem in that respect. So with this method, smaller squares are sewn onto opposite ends of a larger square. So here we have our larger square, which will become the center of the flying geese. And then we have our 2 smaller squares, which will become the wings. So, of course, it wouldn't be a quilt block if it didn't have math. So, we have to know what the math is. When we're cutting it, we have to know what our finished trimmed up size of this little guy is going to be. We are going to add 1 1/4 inches to the width of the flying geese unit and cut 1 center square. So if this was 4 inches, this square would be a 5 1/4 inch square. We're going to add 7/8 of an inch to the finished flying geese unit, to the height of the finished flying geese unit, and cut 4 squares. Okay? So, for example, if you were making 2 by 4 flying geese units, you'd cut 1 5 1/4 inch square and 4 squares of 2 7/8, and you would cut them out of a larger square. So you would end up with one of these and 4 of these, or 4 of these. Okay, the first thing you are going to do is draw a diagonal line on the back of your smaller square. You're going to orient those drawn lines by putting these blocks in the corner of your square. They will overlap right here in the center. You are then going to pin them in place, okay? And you are going to stitch a 1/4 inch on each side of those squares. So here we have them pinned, and here we have them sewn. Okay? Then you are going to go back to that original line and cut them in half. When you do that, you are going to have the beginnings of your flying geese unit. Your 2 pieces will both look like this.
It'll be pressed.
And you need to press them. So you are going to press them. Then you are going to come back and you are going to take your remaining squares and do the same thing. You're going to put them on the corner of your big square, and you have that line drawn. You're going to sew a 1/4 inch on either side of that line and then cut down the middle. Once you do that, you are actually going to have the flying geese unit. Now, this is after trimming, but when it's trimmed right at this point here, you should have a 1/4 inch from that point to the edge. So what you are going to do is, let me see if I can show you this on the ruler. You are going to line this up so that we were doing D actually, so that the point of D, right where it shows the big triangle, is right in the point, and you're going to trim to this top line and the bottom line. Okay, now we also have a written handout on how to do this, but that in a nutshell is how to make, and you will get 4 of those out of that effort. All right, happy sewing.